If you are not monitoring correctly during your recording, you're not hearing what you're supposed to be hearing in your headphones during the recording process, then you could be doing everything right. You could be doing every single recording technique perfectly and still not get amazing sounding results. Because monitoring is crucial when it comes to recording. Let's discuss. Okay, so before we talk about the how do I get an amazing sounding mix in my headphones during the recording process? Let's talk about the why for a second. Why do I need such a great mix in my headphones? And the answer is that this is really one of the keys to getting a great sounding recording. Because if the singer can hear themselves correctly, then they will deliver a better performance. And the better they can hear themselves, the better the performance is. So if you have a great monitoring mix, they'll have a great performance. And the reason why a lot of people skip over this step is because in the recording phase, nothing really needs to be at the right level because that happens in the mixing stage. So why should I be busy with it now? I'll just leave everything at 0. And they are technically correct because changing the levels right now is definitely not going to be the levels that it ends up being at the end of the product, but it's still super, super important to set up the levels now for what we need to hear now. So that is the why, and now let's get into the how. Real quick, I just want to stick this in there that if you are interested in producing professional sounding vocals, I want to give you my free vocal production workshop, and in there you'll find everything you need to know about producing professional vocals A to Z, including a step-by-step guide so you can get amazing sounding vocals every single time consistently. Go check it out for free. Link down below somewhere, and let's continue. How do we accomplish this great sounding monitor mix? Well, the first thing you have to know is, like I said before, that these levels that we're going to change right now have nothing to do with the final result. So it's okay if we make the levels really quiet or even sometimes a little bit louder than we would in the mix because we're running out of headroom. We're not so worried about running out of headroom right now. We're more worried about what we need to hear in our headphones. And these levels also have nothing to do with the input signal, the input gain, because that is adjusted on your interface knob and should be set up correctly over there. So this is just for monitoring levels temporarily. So as long as you're not clipping the master fader and it doesn't sound fuzzy in your headphones, then you're okay because we'll always be fixing these levels in the mixing stage. Right now, we're just worrying about the monitoring stage. So the way I see it is that there are 3 main elements that you have to worry about during a monitoring mix. There is the soundtrack or music, and this can be one track like you'll see in my session, or this can be an entire arrangement, but we're going to treat it as one element, usually. Then there is the vocals, the levels of the vocals. Then there is the level of the click track. And just getting a nice balance between them is going to help you get a nice monitoring level. So let's take a look at my session. I have over here a click track, a sound track, a vocal track, and a master fader. So right now, these are all at 0. And if I try to record to this, the track is going to be too loud and I'm not going to be getting enough vocals in my headphones, and the click might even be getting buried. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is just bring down the soundtrack by like 10 or 15 dB. And this will help us get much more control over the level of the vocals because since the soundtrack is all the way down here, we can adjust the vocals accordingly down here, up here, and we just have more control. The problem is that at this point, your soundtrack might be a little bit too quiet. So to compensate for this, we're going to be turning up our headphone volume knob on our interface. And we also have more control, if needed, over the click track because now it's not going to be getting buried, and if we need it louder, we can make it louder, and if it is too loud, we can always make it lower and make it like similar to the soundtrack's level. This just gives us so much more control during our monitoring phase, and even though it's a very quiet signal, it doesn't matter because later on, we'll bring it up. So in practice, it sounds like this. Okay, so this is what the monitoring would have sounded like before I did any of if I just left everything at 0. And the track is just too overpowering. I can't hear the click. I'm not singing in time. So let's set up our monitoring mix correctly. Like I said, we're going to bring down the track and we're going to adjust my vocals and click accordingly. So let's see how this sounds. And for me, that's comfortable. Now, again, bear in mind, if you're hearing this on the video and it sounds a little bit lower than it should be, just remember that I increased my headphone volume to compensate for that quietness. And there you go. That is a simple process to making a great sounding monitoring mix for recording. And let me know down below if this video was helpful for you, or if you have a different method that you always use to set up a monitoring mix for recording. I really want to hear it. So again, drop your comments down below, and until next time.